Hey guys, what's going on? How you doing? I'm attorney Michael Ehline. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and Texas, and I've got some pretty good stuff to share with you today. Hopefully you guys can see me. I'm hoping that somebody will join the stream so I can make sure that everything's working properly here today. I'm streaming today from Rumble as well as Twitter and let me see, TikTok and CommieTube, the good old-fashioned CommieTube, trying to convince all my friends that we need to get off of that radical censorship platform and return back to a day where we're not going to allow people to censor us and stuff like that. And hopefully you guys are following along. Good seeing you, Jody. Good seeing you 100%. Mr. Osgood. Hold on a second. Let me just get back over here, make sure everything looks squared away. Make sure my screen sharing is all working here. Hopefully it is. All right. So I'm going at you today in vertical mode. So I got a bunch of news for you. As soon as I started posting videos about abolishing the Federal Reserve, and then anytime I posted a video about Julian Assange or Eric Snowden or anything negative about the Democrat Party, for example, YouTube starts sending me these censorship notices, and now they put me on a 90-day demonetization. And of course, they don't tell you why. They just say, we found that you may be in violation of our guidelines. Please appeal, right? So it's like getting arrested and not being told what the nature or the cause of the action is, right? And people say, well, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. But no, that's not true either. Under the Communications Decency Act, they are censoring content, which is illegal. And at some point, I'll have Jason Fick come on, and we'll talk more about that. I've discussed this before in other shows that I've done. Hold on, let me get my cam set up properly. In other shows that I've done, but the problem is you've got a lot of far left judges and stuff like that who have, hold on one second. Here's the problem. And by the way, guys, I'm still trying to get stuff squared away here. Hopefully this will be, there we go. Yeah. All right. I was having you on my laptop there for a minute. So I am Lane Myers. That's right. That's pretty good, Mr. Oz. Hopefully I'm looking a little better there. How's that? Hold on. What do you guys think? So I got my son at judo today. Haven't been able to go live that much. Last time I tried to go live, I was using Safari, and it didn't allow me to do screen sharing. But hold on one second. I want to share with you my ticker. And let's get that squared away too. Let's get everything squared away there, crazies. And all right. So if you check out my ticker, definitely come and join me on Rumble. I purchased some stock in the company. I've sold all my Google stock. I'm done with these guys. They're still the blue-haired mafia, constantly engaging in censorship and anything that politically they disagree with. You can't discuss big pharma. You can't discuss vaccine efficacy, even though there's hundreds of thousands of other scientists who agree with me. They stick with what the World Health Organization says. They have a partnership with them. So ultimately, if you don't allow them to censor you, they'll demonetize you. They'll shut down your channel. They'll play games with you and stuff like that. So I've decided that I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. That's right, SNS. Thank you. Thanks for going over to Rumble. And everybody, if you've got Rumble channels, go and stream over at Rumble. Get in the chat over at Rumble. Let's build up my channel over there. We're going to go ahead and keep the YouTube channel. It just won't be monetized. I'll start selling books and stuff like that to make up for I don't really make that much money, but I was really doing this to help my kids learn about how to be entrepreneurs and stuff like that, helping me with the channel. But we kind of all knew it was coming. I mean, if you say anything bad about Sleepy Joe or the Marxist Democrats, YouTube will go out of their way to mess with you, and they'll never tell you why. See, they'll never say, oh, we think that you may have violated something. Go ahead and file an appeal, right? It's like, file an appeal to what? under any other system, you'd be entitled to know what the nature and the cause of the action is. I believe the Communications Decency Act is Section 230 of the federal code. I can't remember exactly what the code is, but Jason Fick and I have talked about this. He's got active lawsuits going against Facebook and some other channels for doing the same kind of crap to him that they're doing to me, but they have a lot of judges on the Ninth Circuit who are super pro Obama and Biden, right? So they're all about censorship and silencing anyone they disagree with to create the false appearance of unity and unification and that there's a consensus. That's the whole idea. Silence everyone else, and then our scientists and doctors who we pay, well, they're the only ones who have a voice, so therefore there's a majority who agree with us. And all those other scientists and doctors and lawyers, well, they're all just tinfoil hat crazy people. So that's how they do it. Yeah, I'm hoping the Rumble channel grows too, SNS. I think that it's, after spending some time the last week over there, it needs a lot of work. There's some issues with it, but it's way better as far as censorship goes. I mean, YouTube is all about silencing political opposition, right? If you have little furries and you wave rainbow flags, they're you'll get 1 million followers in a couple of days. But if you support constitutional law, natural law, things like that, good luck, guys. So this is going to be a really cool show today. I'm in my car and it's really hot. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into what happened here with this RussiaGate thing, all right? So RussiaGate, I knew right away, as soon as Twitter and Facebook started shutting people's accounts down for talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, and prior to that, anyone who supported libertarian ideas, the Constitution, or even Republicans, their channels were throttled, they were shadow banned, because they always want to create this appearance of that there is a majority of people who support things like boys can be girls and girls can be boys, that there's no side effects to things that they tell you need to put in your body, right? It's the same people who pay them billions of dollars in advertising money, obviously, are behind that. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So I'm in a pretty tough spot today, trying to get this show done before the judo class gets out. So just really quickly, so we know that Barry Soetoro, or who changed his name to Barack Hussein Obama, is a radical Marxist. And Eric Holder at the Weather Underground, I believe that it was at Harvard, they held hostages, right, at Harvard back in the 60s or 70s during the war protests. And they're hardcore Marxists, the same people who have taken over Los Angeles, anti-American flag burners, basically control the Marxist leftist party. And they control channels like, they're basically Google, Facebook, most social media, most of Silicon Valley is just far radical left. I mean, I'm a recovering Democrat. I was a Democrat when they used to have American flags at their rallies and didn't burn American flags. And so I realized that it's over. Hey, Gloria, good seeing you. Gloria, go over to, if you can, go over to Rumble. Let's start hanging out at Rumble. Let's get off of this censorship platform and start talking about things that really matter to America instead of trying to get money for our channels and monetization, which gives them the ability to silence you further. Let's get over at Rumble and start building a community over there. I've been preaching for over the last year that we should form parallel systems so that we can speak our minds and really do something great for America and the homeschooling community, getting people into cryptocurrencies, getting people into gold and silver, and getting people off of the Marxist-run social media channels. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys are all for that. I'm taking a look over here really quick at the Rumble channel just to see how it looks today. Give me a second here. All right, I got SNS over there. That's cool. So it'll take some time. I think I've only got like 12 followers over there, but you guys saw we were able to pick up 60,000 subscribers over at YouTube in about a year. And that's with me being constantly censored, silenced, having my channel taken down, and then appealing and going through all that. And we still were able, because our message is salient, it's valid, which is less government means more freedom. Hey, firecracker. So here's what ended up happening, and we all kind of knew this. Barack Obama did not want Donald Trump to be president. And so him and Hillary Clinton created this complete bullshit narrative that Russia and him were working in cahoots. They did all these witch hunts against people who worked in the for Trump, and then they got them convicted for lying in Congress, right? And of course, we know that Washington, D.C., where they hold all their show trials, is about 99.99% welfare check recipient, Marxist, anti-American Democrats who basically think white people are evil, that boys can be girls and the girls can be boys. And those are the people who convicted them. So this is a little bit different because these cases could very well be in a district that's not radicalized, where if Obama is criminally charged or Broom Hillary is criminally charged, there's a chance that we might get some convictions here, especially if it goes to a grand jury instead of a bunch of political appointees. So let's go ahead and let's let Kim Iverson say what she's got to say, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. And again, I'm on my laptop in the car. Wait, my son's doing judo today, and where I'm at, Atos Jiu-Jitsu, there's really nowhere for me to stand or sit and watch him. So it makes more sense that I try to get the show out of the way. I'm going to try to do as much of the show as I can today. I can't promise you we're going to get it all done because there's an enormous amount of material to cover, but definitely give me a shout out to Kim Iverson, because I believe she is a former journalist who ended up, because of all the censorship, when you take money from advertisers like Pfizer, for example, or from the military industrial complex, you're silenced. And thank you so much, Evidence Room, for the memberships. The problem is after I posted my show the other day about abolishing the Federal Reserve Bank, YouTube gave me a monetization suspension. So I would say within the next couple of days, my channel will be suspended from the YouTube partnership program on Google. So I'm going to ask that you guys start buying copies of my book about how to become a lawyer without law school and stuff like that, like off channel, and just get over to Rumble so we can really talk about the stuff we want to talk about without getting censored, without getting all that crazy stuff. And East Carbon and the Evidence Room, you guys rock. But I want you guys to understand something. Every time you give money to YouTube, you give money to someone who gives about 90% of their employee donations to Act Blue. And Act Blue works, in my opinion, with the Communist Chinese Party to overthrow the government of the United States. And we all know that Google is radical left. And so why would they want a channel like mine to be successful? So I'm just counting the days before they ultimately try and take it down completely. So we need to really focus on Rumble and Patreon and really start using those channels and building a system over there of parallel systems. And then can a mod throw my link in there? Now, if you want, you can just go over to Rumble and type in Michael Ehline, and that'll take you right to my channel. So I'm streaming at you today from Restream, which shows me all the different channels that are picking this up. But let's get into the show really quick, because I've only got about maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and her show is over an hour long. So this may go into a part 2. But I want to cover the salient points as a lawyer and then break down what I think may or may not happen here. Let's get into it.
Agent. They told you Putin rigged the election. They told you anyone who questioned it was a conspiracy theorist, of course. But it was all a lie. And not just a little lie, a coordinated operation by the CIA, the FBI, and Obama's White House to sabotage a sitting president before he even took office. And now, nearly a decade later, we finally have the proof. Just days ago, Tulsi Gabbard, now Director of National Intelligence, released a bombshell set of declassified documents showing exactly how the RussiaGate hoax was born, not in Moscow, but in Washington, D.C. It wasn't a Russian disinformation op. It was American treason. Let's go ahead and take a look. So she says Americans will finally learn the truth about how in 2016 intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Donald Trump, subverting the will of the American people and undermining our democratic republic. Here's how. For months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view. Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. On December...
So you guys got that right. So our entire intelligence community said there's no way that Russia can interfere technically with our U.S. elections, all right? But then all of a sudden, after Trump gets elected, you hear this Clapper guy who lied before Congress about spying on the American people, which we know is a lie. We know that starting under Obama, anyone who served in the military, who purchased a Bible, or who shopped at Bass Sporting Goods was automatically added to a list of potential violent extremists. And the way that the government did that is they'll work with quasi-private or fully private organizations like FinCEN, and they'll get your bank information, and then they'll share that with the government in violation with the Fourth Amendment. So one of the main reasons I'm doing the show isn't to support Trump, but to show you if the Marxist Democrats are so bold that they'll engage in treason to try and prevent a duly elected U.S. president from being effective and use their friends in the press to paint him as a Russian spy, imagine what they're doing to you right now. Every time you hold up your cell phone, which is a bugging device, right? They can hear everything you say, and it gets stored over at the NSA, right? Think about that. Let's keep going.
8th, 2016, IC officials prepared an assessment for the president's daily brief, finding that Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. Before it could reach the president, it was abruptly pulled based on new guidance, quote unquote. This key intelligence assessment was never published. The next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, and DNI James Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the IC, which is intelligence community, to create a new intelligence assessment that detailed Russian election meddling, even though it would contradict multiple intelligence assessments released over the previous several months. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies in the media to advance their falsehoods. Anonymous intelligence community sources leaked classified information to the Washington Post and others that Russia had intervened to hack the election in Trump's favor. On January 6, 2017, just days before President Trump took office, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of intelligence that laid the groundwork for a years-long coup intended to subvert President Trump's entire presidency. According to whistleblower emails shared with us today,
Now, before we get into that, people will say, well, but Trump was president. He had the ability to find all this stuff out during his first term. Wrong. Look, Obama completely packed all of our government agencies with radical leftists, rainbow flag waving, American flag burning Marxists. Unbelievable how he was able to completely pack all of those organizations with people who hate America. And so during that entire time, all of that stuff was buried. Hard drives were swiped, evidence was destroyed, and now, fortunately, a whistleblower came forward and they were able to go back and retrieve this data from scrubbed hard drives. Sound familiar? Like BleachBit with Hillary Clinton, where she illegally had thousands of classified, top secret, and other government emails on a private server that she kept in the bathroom at her house, where she was discussing backdoor deals with communist China and other countries hostile to our interests. The same woman who gave our uranium to the Russians is trying to say that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. You got to hand it to the left. I mean, they control CBS, ABC, PMSNBC, NPR, basically every news channel, even Fox News is basically controlled opposition. I mean, the journalists like this woman who could have potentially worked for Fox were usually fired when they went against the official narrative. Let's get back into the video. This is really unbelievable.
No, Clapper and Brennan used the baseless or discredited Steele dossier as a source to push this false narrative in the intelligence assessment. These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and to usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate. This betrayal concerns every American. The integrity of our democratic republic demands that every person involved be investigated and brought to justice to prevent this from ever happening again. I am providing all documents to the Department of Justice to deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve. And then Donald Trump wrote this out. Obama himself manufactured the Russia hoax. Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe, and numerous others participated in this. The crime of the century, irrefutable evidence, a major threat to our country. Of course, this is only evidence if you believe the evidence. You know, some people would say, I mean, I think if the shoe were on the other foot, we would say probably fabricated. I mean, it's just things to keep in mind. How do we know for sure that this evidence is actual evidence? How do we know it's not fabricated? How do we know it's not curated? But nonetheless, you know, we'll roll with it for now. But here's Donald Trump saying Obama should be prosecuted.
If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama.
That's right.
It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill.
So just to recap this, the original intelligence said Russia did not hack the vote. That finding was buried. A new politicized report based on lies was pushed out instead, that's right. And that's what the media used to launch a years-long coup against Trump's presidency. But the question is, now what? What happens next? Will anyone be held accountable, or was this just another exercise in showing a...
And don't even call it the media. Let's face it, corporate media, legacy media, is basically another branch of the Democrat Party. Let's just face it, guys. You got to be honest with yourselves about that.
Americans, that the most powerful people in this country can do whatever it is they want and get away with it. Trump says he wants Obama held accountable. We'll see what actually happens. Joining us next is someone who's followed this story since the beginning. Naboisha Malish is a longtime columnist for antiwar.com and RT America, now a journalist based in Belgrade, Serbia. His work can be found on Substack, Telegram, and X. And today he's here with us to break this all down. He's been following the RussiaGate hoax from the very beginning, done extensive research and reporting on it. He knows all of the details. But first, does your immune system feel compromised ever since COVID? Well, a new study published in the Journal of Clinical Laboratory Analysis suggests you may... And
we're not allowed to talk about this.
What did it reveal?
We're not allowed to talk about COVID on YouTube because our channels will be banned for misinformation, right? We have to ignore everything all the other scientists say about it and only believe what the World Health Organization, which is funded by Bill Gates and many say George Soros, right? So we're not allowed to talk about that. So I don't want to get in trouble until we get our Rumble channel built out enough. So let's go ahead and listen to what Kim's got to say.
Russia. Donald Trump was elected because of Russia. Trump is saying there's some RussiaGate hoax. No, he's wrong. You had Rachel Maddow out there. We've got the documents. We've got his tax returns. We're going to expose the fact he's being paid by the Russians. He's on the take. And nothing was ever found. So let's kind of start from the beginning so that people understand the whole background of RussiaGate, if you don't mind. And then we can say, okay, what was this latest drop What did it reveal?
So at the heart of this is something that I guess, and this is going to sound really awful, but Adam Schiff actually phrased it best. He said, "Russia hacked our democracy." That sentence is completely meaningless. It has a subject, it has a verb, it has an object, but it means nothing.
And we're also not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Democracy, which comes from the Greek word demos, means mob or mobocracy, where the majority get to decide the rights of the individual. America is a constitutional republic where the rights of the individual bind the government, and the government has enumerated powers, and that's it. And beyond that, that's why the Marxist left wants us to be a democracy, because communism can't work in a system where you have individual rights. Let's keep listening.
It means whatever they want it to mean. And that's been the whole point all along. Let's take a step back. It's 2015. Donald Trump comes down that escalator, announces his presidential run, whips Jeb Bush in that debate, suddenly starts looking like a serious candidate. Suddenly it starts looking like the election isn't going to be between Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush, as we were conditioned to believe at the time. Bernie Sanders starts mounting a bit of a challenge to Hillary on the Democratic side, and there's a bit of drama over that. But suddenly, Trump is a danger. And then comes the Clinton email scandal, which everybody's forgotten about. But that was sort of the prequel to RussiaGate. It turned out that Hillary Clinton, while she was Secretary of State and before and after, had her government emails routed to her private email server that sat in a closet somewhere in her house in New York State.
Nothing happened.
Was maintained by some contractors that she hired for.
She violated her non-disclosure agreement and her oath of office to make it so we could not do public records requests to find out about the illegal backhand deals that she was doing with countries like communist China. And we know that Julian Assange produced all this evidence, and automatically the radical Marxist left news media all said, oh, that was Russia too. That was all created by Russia. No, it wasn't, guys. That came off of Hillary Clinton's server. And again, that's why I keep getting shadow banned. That's why we only have like 30 people in the chat today, because YouTube does not want free people to know what their allies in the leftist, Marxist, anti-American Democrat Party have been and are doing to you to this very day. Let's keep going.
That purpose. And there were emails, both government and private, that were on that server. And after Benghazi, in, I believe, 2012, that was, when those American diplomats got massacred in Libya by the jihadists that were working for the United States to smuggle weapons into Syria, but that couldn't be found out, and therefore everybody was keeping mum about that. People started digging into this and found out that Clinton was using private emails. And then she had to admit that, because of the whole campaign thing, try to wave off the scandal. Jim Comey said, there's nothing to see here, move along. Well, while all of this is happening, a bunch of Democratic National Committee emails get released in the spring of 2016.
Yep.
And the contractor for DNC, an outfit called CrowdStrike, run by I believe a Ukrainian emigre, Dmitry Alperovich, announces that this was totally Russia that did it.
That's right.
No evidence. They say this was Russia. The FBI never looks at the servers, never touches any of the evidence, and says, well, they told us it was Russia, so it's Russia. The emails get released through...
Now, who's they? Guys like James Comey, right? By the way, James Comey's daughter was the prosecutor in charge of the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Notice how most of the most serious charges against her got blown out, and that we never were able to get any evidence about the other people involved. Yet Ghislaine was accused of human trafficking, but who are the traffickers? Well, I think we know who they are. Who helped start the Clinton Foundation? Guess who? Guess who? Jeffrey Epstein was one of the original donors to the Clinton Foundation. So all roads lead back to Broom Hillary, Bill Clinton, and Barry Sotero and Big Mike. Let's keep listening.
Really obscure sort of DC Leaks blog that gets eventually censored and shut down. And they sort of reveal all sorts of really petty, weird things inside the Democratic Party, how the party was framing the election for Hillary, stealing it from Bernie Sanders, sort of suppressing his candidacy. A lot of dirty laundry that would normally qualify as an October surprise, but at that point, there was already all sorts of stuff floating around anyway. But because it dovetails into the Clinton email scandal, it poses a danger, or at least that's what Hillary's campaign people think. And so what emerges is that she coordinated with her campaign people that they will accuse Trump of ties to Russia.
That's right.
Because at one point at a press conference, he makes a joke. Russia, if you have these emails, please release them. He didn't mean the DNC emails. He meant Hillary's emails from the private server in her closet. He was perfectly obvious that's what he meant, because that was the context in which he was answering the question. I was a journalist at the time. I was listening to the presser. I mean, I was covering Obama's presidency. I was covering the campaign, both Hillary.
Evidence Room, thanks for liking the format. The main reason that I'm streaming today in vertical is because I'm hoping that this is being played over at TikTok. I can't find it over there, but I did set up my account to play over there, and I know TikTok only streams in vertical. I'm really doing my best to get off of CommieTube and form a parallel system with free thinkers like me who are tired of being censored, having their channels being demonetized by YouTube for vague, ambiguous, and arbitrary and capricious guidelines. They don't even tell you what you did wrong. They just say, we think that you may have violated our rules. As soon as you do a video that talks about Broom Hillary or about abolishing the Federal Reserve System or that promotes homeschooling, and then they'll find some other way to backdoor you, for lack of a better word, and not tell you what you did. And they don't honor the appeal. So now I'm going to be on a 90-day suspension from being monetized. So I really want you guys to think about purchasing copies of my book. Actually, instead of sharing this money that you pay for super chats and memberships with CommieTube, just go ahead and buy a copy of my book, which I can then use to help teach my kids how to be entrepreneurs so they don't have to become professional baristas at Starbucks after they get a worthless degree in political science or economics or underwater basket weaving at one of these stupid schools where they can brag how they have this degree and that makes them smart. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Let's keep going.
And Trump, so I knew exactly what he was saying because I listened to the Raw press conference.
Yeah.
But the media that were broadcasting it were like, oh, look, Trump is colluding with Russia to hack the Democratic Party. Because that's how it was presented. None of it was true. So what happens is the seeds of this narrative that Trump is somehow colluding with Russia were planted in the public. What follows is months of the media repeating DNC talking points claiming that Trump is somehow colluding with Russia.
Right.
These are coming from a file put together by a British spy named Christopher Steele. We don't know that yet. That's not going to be disclosed until the end of the year. Meanwhile, John Podesta's private emails, Gmails, get hacked.
Thanks, Evidence Room.
Who did it? We don't know. All we know is that WikiLeaks starts publishing them. And in the middle of this whole thing with Podesta's emails emerging and all sorts of colorful details from spirit cooking onto, Al-Qaeda's on our...
So for the people who are interested in my book about how to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad in California and several other states, you can go to the description on my YouTube channel, drop it down. There's a link to PayPal for you to get that. It's like $19, guys, $19.99. And I'm in the process of writing a better version. It's a digital ebook, so there's no postage and handling, none of that other crap. But it's going to take me a couple of weeks to finish editing. But any donations, any book purchases will be honored. It's just going to take me a little bit longer than I was hoping because I want to really get you a much better book than I had before. So it's just taking a little bit longer. But to me, I think that's the way to go, guys. As soon as you accept money from your enemy, you are now bound by their rules, their guidelines. And that's how politicians become corrupted. I don't want to accept money from anyone, any kind of Federal Reserve notes, crypto, gold, silver, from anyone. unless they are aligned with our views, which is forming parallel systems, homesteading, growing your own food, collecting your own rainwater, right? And homeschooling your kids. Get them away from the rainbow flag, anti-American, blue-haired mafia. Take back the minds of your children before they get sterilized and can no longer reproduce. Please do that for me, guys. That's what I want to do. I finally decided that it's time to make the move. Tired of being censored, tired of being muzzled by people who hate you and me, by people who don't support America, by people who are more closely aligned with communist China than the value system that we were taught by our parents, especially you people who are veterans, military people, and more than anyone, U.S. Marines. Let's keep going.
Side to all sorts of stuff that's in there that Hillary's people are. There was a famous email in which they talk about how Maggie Haberman, who was at Politico at the time, is a friendly journalist that they tee up stories with all the time. And then she moved to the New York Times and pretended that nothing untowardly happened. Podesta emails were never denied. People de facto confirmed that they were authentic. They just claimed that Russians hacked them without any evidence whatsoever. And they kept getting released by WikiLeaks, not anybody else, just WikiLeaks. So whoever had hacked or leaked the DNC stuff was posting them on a separate site. But WikiLeaks is the one that ended up airing the Podesta stuff. And from the Podesta stuff that validated the DNC stuff, it became obvious that the DNC is crooked.
Duh.
This is where the pedal hits the metal and the Democrats basically say this is Russia. Why? Because Julian Assange had a show on RT at one point before he got stuck at the Ecuadorian embassy. And because RT ended up publishing one of these drops, allegedly according to the American media, before it was even publicly released. Now, I can confirm here and now that this is 100% false.
Well, that's right, the evidence room. And that flag is all about what they call pride. And we know that's one thing that our Creator teaches us that is worse than anything is pride. Pride comes before the fall. If you love yourself and you love your family, you'll never be prideful. You'll be meek and humble, and you'll try and help other people, even if you disagree with them, because we don't want to win over people. We want to win people over. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
Because I was working that day, and I'm the one who spotted the drop. Because it was morning, we were looking for news, and I basically said, why don't we check WikiLeaks? They could have dropped something by now. And they did. And we covered that drop. It was one of my editors was like, yeah, let's run with this. I was working at RT America at the time. Again, we were covering this because it was our job. Everybody else was covering the Podesta leaks because there was stuff in there. There was newsworthy stuff in there. And we didn't get it before it was made public. We got it because we refreshed the page.
That's right.
Anybody else could have done that, but they didn't bother. I think it was a day of some sort of juicy sports or celebrity scandal, so everybody was hitting refresh on that. And we were focusing on the WikiLeaks stuff because we didn't do celebrity gossip.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all of a sudden, the existence of RT dovetails into the whole thing, and it becomes this huge deal. I was at both the Republican and the Democratic convention that year. This is 2016, July, back to back, working both. I got to see Trump speak in person. I got to see Hillary speak in person. I was one of the few people that got accreditations. And I happened to be at the DNC in the media tent taking a break because it was bloody hot in Philadelphia. It was, late July. It gets warm. It was over 100 degrees. I was wearing a black shirt and I got a little heat exhausted and I was sipping water in the media tent because we were in the AP Reuters International Wires tent off to the side of the venue because there wasn't enough room at the Philly arena. And all of these, CNN, MSNBC, they all had their own pavilions off to the side, converted restaurants and whatever, like elite locations, so they could do their own thing. But they had no touch with the actual public on the ground or inside the perimeter. And in comes storms about 50 to 100 people, Sanders delegates, who were frustrated and angry that Clinton basically won the convention by acclamation, even though they
Right. Do you like how the DNC talks about democracy and majority rules, but yet they appointed Camel Toe Harris without any kind of an election, right? They just switched out Sleepy Joe. because everybody knew when he first got into office, he was already suffering from dementia. If they even had a slight ability to discern and had basic common sense, they knew the guy was a complete tard. And then they go ahead and they just appoint camel toe, just like the Soviets, just like the communists, and even freaking Marxist, anti-American Bernie Sanders gets the floor cleaned with Hillary Clinton, with Broom Hillary. Do you guys really think that the Democrat Party supports rule by majority? Even, of course not. They're a radical, pro-war, anti-parent, anti-American party. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
Hoping for a roll call vote. And they were pissed. And they were going to talk to whoever held up a camera in their face. And so we did. I literally stood there with a microphone and interviewed people. And then I tweeted about it. Mm-hmm. And our social media producers in Washington were like, let's pay Twitter $5 to promote
this. Right there. That's true.
And it was promoted. And it was seen by maybe 50 people more than it would normally have, because I had a tiny account at the time. And they retweeted it at RT's main account with my video, gave me credit. And this was all normal. This is 2016. This is America. This is all normal stuff. Mm-hmm. And this ends up in the congressional report on Russian interference in our democracy as an example of some sort of malign foreign influence. I'm like, guys, this is all above board. This is journalism. I regret that you can't recognize journalism if it slaps you on the face with a frozen fish. But there's nothing untoward here. We were just doing journalism. But this is the climate that this whole RussiaGate thing created. And then, I know I'm sort of going on tangents here. And then when Trump wins, to the shock of the entire mainstream media establishment that was giving Clinton 99% chance of winning, somebody pushes the RussiaGate button and immediately says, well, this was Russian interference. That itself isn't quite yet RussiaGate, though. What makes RussiaGate is in December, the heads of the intelligence agencies, like Director of National Intelligence, Clapper, Director of FBI, Comey, and Director of CIA, Brennan, as well as a whole bunch of Obama advisors, sit down in the White House and literally have a conference at which they say, we need to put together an intelligence community assessment that Russia interfered in the election. Mm-hmm. According to this latest Gabbard drop, which is very, very important, she documents, as the new head of Office of the Director of National Intelligence, that prior to this December 8 meeting, this December 8, December 9, the intelligence community's official position is that there was no Russian interference. Indirect, direct, changing votes, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. Clapper, Comey, and Brennan put together a task force of select few operatives who basically cooked the books between then and the end of December or early January, compiled this completely new report that is actually incredibly thin. The public version of it has like 30-something pages, of which 12 are them complaining about RT and bringing up this report on what RT was doing in 2012, completely unrelated to anything in 2016. Very thin on evidence, but what they're doing is they're putting together insinuendo, feeding into the media frenzy, and the key part of this, the key component that's underlying this entire thing is the so-called Steele dossier.
Yep.
Which hasn't been made public yet. It's been sort of teased to the media, teased to the public through select outlets to create an impression that there was something between Trump and Russia. It's all insinuation plus innuendo, intended to deceive the public into believing, well, nothing in particular, because there's nothing in particular there. It's just they want to have this general feeling that Russia hacked our democracy. And based on this, every political screw-up, act of censorship and repression that we've seen over the past almost 10 years can be traced to this big lie.
That's it.
Now, what these new documents show, with beyond reasonable doubt in my mind, that it was President Obama who ordered this to be done.
That's right.
Him and none other. Joe Biden was in on it as his VP. Susan Rice as his most senior political advisor. all of the aforementioned heads of intelligence agencies, with the notable exception of Admiral Rogers over at the NSA, who grudgingly went along with it, but he was basically saying, well, none of this is substantiated by our signals intelligence.
That's right.
The NSA pretty much hears and sees all. And when Rogers is saying this, they should have listened to him. But no, he was ignored. And it was Brennan, Comey, and Clapper who basically put this big lie together. And it was made public January 6th of the next year, 2017, after Trump was elected, confirmed. He's now in queue to be inaugurated. And boom, RussiaGate drops. Russia hacked our democracy. And all of a sudden, he's starting on the back foot. The Michael Flynn operation is already underway. The Carter Page operation is already underway. The steps are being set for what would become the Mueller investigation,
That's right.
the special counsel investigation. And stuff is already underway to prep for the 2019 Ukraine impeachment. We just don't know it yet. Now that I've set the table and laid out the, teased the menu, I'll take a pause and let you ask me a question.
Okay. Okay. So what in these, in the documents that were just released by Tulsi Gabbard just a few days ago, how do these specifically, because some critics will say, no, these don't actually point to Obama. This is, no, there was genuine Russian meddling, and that's what it wasn't fabrication, and that's what they were pointing at. And, you guys are just exaggerating the fact that there's some sort of big conspiracy. So I guess give us the examples that are more specific that really point to, I mean, did they sit together in the Oval Office and they were like, well,
there was literally a meeting in the Oval Office at which, on the instructions of the president, the principals meeting, the intelligence community is told to come up with a new assessment. The problem that had been
happened before Trump took office. Obama's orchestrating this bullshit narrative that the Russians helped Trump get elected, even though all of our signals intelligence said, no, that's not true. But Obama said, no, we've got to do everything we can to discredit him and discredit his presidency to stop him. So they used all of their allies in the legacy press, as well as social media. They had CIA and FBI agents who worked in a revolving door employment scheme with social media to illegally censor anyone who even dared to discuss the Hunter Biden laptop later on. But prior to that, they were censoring people who said anything negative about the Democrats or Barack Obama, about his ties to the communists, about Eric Holder, an anti-American flag burner, all that stuff. Anybody who said anything bad about the left was censored or shadow banned in violation of the Communications Decency Act. And finally, we were able to find this information because a whistleblower helped us find the hard drives that the Democrat employees appointed by Obama at CIA, FBI, and NSA had scrubbed. Let's keep listening. This is unbelievable to me that you don't know anything about this unless you watch my channel.
Been compiled before that said the complete opposite. Essentially, what Gabbard pointed out, and she very clearly, she spelled it out, is that she called it a treasonous conspiracy. This is not a language that's used lightly. And let's not forget that she was, I believe, a deputy chair of the DNC back in 2015, and she resigned due to a conflict of interest because she had endorsed Sanders. So she was on the ground in the Democratic politics when this was all allegedly happening. Yeah. So she should be in the perfect position for herself adjudicate which one of these claims is true or not.
That's right. And so you guys have to also remember that Donald Trump has always been a Democrat. He's a tax and spend liberal, but he's not a social liberal. Like, he supports the concept of patriotism, the American flag. He thinks that parents should have rights over the minds and bodies of their children, not a bunch of blue-haired freaks in the public school system. He's more of a traditional Democrat, how I was before I became a recovering Democrat and became a libertarian. Tulsi Gabbard is no different. The Democrat Party left us. We didn't leave them. Communist China has so much control over the modern Democrat Party and our modern day school curriculum That's why these millennials and these young kids just go along with the program, because they've been programmed in public schools to hate anyone who loves their country. And that's just the way it is, guys. That's the reality. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
In terms of the assessment. But now that she's the director of national intelligence and has every document at her disposal, I trust that she has the necessary information to make those conclusions. And she's published a lot of stuff. A lot of it is obscure bureaucraties. But every single RussiaGate researcher that's been active on this for years is basically saying we're fully and completely vindicated. We're now zeroing in on this, that, and the other. There's specific dates. This is I don't want to say it's esoteric stuff, but I don't want to get hung up on one specific date or one specific person at this point, because honestly, we're probably going to hear a lot more about this if there's indictments coming. And she did make criminal referrals. This was not just here's a report for the general public. No. These were criminal referrals sent to the Department of Justice.
That's right.
Okay. So what exactly are these documents that were released? Tell us, like, are these notes, meeting notes, reading the minutes? Are these emails? Like, what are these specifically?
So what happened was a few weeks back, the CIA released a tradecraft review of their role in the RussiaGate assessment, and basically said this was rubbish. We should have done better. And we included the Steele dossier, and we shouldn't have. That was sort of the prologue to this. Gabbard did a whole big document dump. Some of these were still redacted. Some of these are, none of this is classified, obviously, but she's put together a list of documents indicating that there was a seditious conspiracy at work to undermine the legitimately elected president of the United States with an entirely fabricated, fake accusation of Russian meddling and Russian collusion.
Yeah.
So two separate things, neither of which happened, mind you. Mm-hmm. But they were sort of smushed together into the vague Russia hacked our democracy story. Basically, one of the golden rules of propaganda is to accuse the enemy of what you yourself are doing.
Right.
This is what happened here. The American intelligence community accused Russia of interfering with the election because they were interfering with the election.
That's right.
And worse yet, they were interfering after the election because Trump won and they needed to stop him. Now, fast forward a few months, and you'll recall that during the Mueller investigation, there was a public release of some documents that got FOIA'd, revealing the extramarital affair of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. Lisa Page was a senior legal counsel at the FBI, and Peter Strzok was a senior agent. I'm going to mangle his title. It doesn't matter. It's relevant. He lost his job. That was working with Andrew McCabe, who's deputy director, on Crossfire Hurricane. That was the name they gave to the Trump investigation. And Strzok and Page are basically saying he's not going to become president, is he? And no, we're going to stop him. And they were talking about an insurance policy that was laid out at McCabe's office at a meeting. This is all stuff that's coming out in 2017. 2017-18, this is the Mueller investigation. Mueller gets appointed, I believe, in May 2017 after Comey gets fired. But he orchestrated this firing, basically, as he set a trap for Trump so that if Trump fires him, he's going to have grounds to get a legal counsel, special counsel appointed. And special counsel is, lo and behold, his good friend Robert Mueller, who, by the way, is completely senile, doesn't know what's going on. So the entire probe is going to be run by Andrew Weissman and a team of top Democrats at the DOJ who.
So you guys get an idea of what happened. And by the way, thank you for your compliment about the background. Guys, I'm at judo with my son, and I've got to go get him out of the class. So I'm going to cut it short today, but we are at 33:37 into this video, this Kim Iverson video. Guys, this is firecracker stuff. The fact that the Marxist-run anti-American news media won't run this story tells you that it's true. That's all you got to know. If the Marxist anti-American news media won't cover stories like this, you know it's true. So I'll try to maybe come on tomorrow from my office and finish this up where I've got the suit and tie and all that. But join me at Rumble, guys. I'm also going to set this up over at Patreon if I can figure it out. Let's start forming parallel systems where our thoughts aren't censored by the Marxist anti-American thought police over at Mountain View. We need to make sure that Marxist-run social media is for Marxists and that freedom-loving American people boycott and they start joining me over at Rumble. That the only way we're going to do it is for every single one of you to get out there on channels like John Phelaks, on channels like Chili DeCastro over at Delete Laws, and say, guys, get over to Rumble. What are you doing over here? Why would you want to be on a channel that censors you where you're beholden to them for monetization? Don't do it, guys. It's time for us to make a move. It's time for us to put our money where our mouth is and start forming parallel systems. Even though Rumble is a little quirky compared to YouTube, I bought some stocks in Rumble. I recommend you do the same thing, even if it's just 1 or 2 shares. Get an E-Trade or Robinhood, whatever. Show your support for these guys, because so far, the content that I've seen at Rumble is stuff that would have immediately been banned or censored on YouTube, just like the communist-run news media does. That's how you know you want to be there. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hit the road. I gotta get out of here, but I just want to tell you guys, I love all of you. I don't know what's going to happen with my channel at YouTube. As soon as I started talking about abolishing the Federal Reserve, Julian Assange, and homeschooling, all of a sudden I started getting all these notifications that we think you might be in violation of some rule. We're not going to tell you what the rule is that you broke, but you can go ahead and appeal it anyways, and we'll let you know. So nothing short of Soviet-style censorship. Not a good place for you to be. Get yourself to a place that allows you to be free in your thoughts and your speech. Join me over at Rumble. I'll drop the link one more time. Make sure to like and subscribe. Guys, reach out to Team MPE, all your friends, the hundreds and the over 60,000 subscribers that I picked up, because obviously my channel is now being shadow banned over at YouTube. We're hardly anyone's getting my notifications anymore. Nobody even knows when I'm online. Let them know through your channels to join me over at Rumble. Let's go ahead and try to make this Team MPE the patriotic grand exodus from Marxism over into a free thought speech platform. And with that being said, guys, pick up a copy of my book. You can go to my description on YouTube. It's like $19.99. I should have the new version done in a couple of weeks. Just go, I'll give you 2 copies for the price of 1 if you get a copy now. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police, and we do know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. As soon as you start talking about things that matter to normal, everyday Americans.